The sun was just beginning to rise over the hills, casting long soft shadows across the fields, and I was already out by the barn, hay sticking to my gloves. As I fed the horses, it was quiet the way I liked it, only the distant calls of birds and the gentle snorts from the animals filled the air, and I moved like clockwork, tending to the chores that gave shape to my days. I never expected anyone, not on a Tuesday, not that early, so when I heard the sound of tires on gravel I froze a little, heart thudding, thinking maybe something was wrong. The truck was familiar, old and dusty, the way all farm trucks should be. And when he stepped out tall and calm with his hands shoved into the pockets of his jeans, I couldn't believe it was him. David, my son-in-law, waved shyly as if he hadn't seen me in years, even though it had only been a few months since the wedding. And I hadn't really spent much time with him outside of the chaos of that day. I wiped my hands on my shirt and stepped toward him. The morning air between us, cool and quiet. He said he was passing through, needed a break from the city, wanted to help around the farm since he had some time, and before I could say no, I found myself nodding, telling him I could use an extra hand, even though the truth was, I had grown to enjoy doing things on my own. We worked side by side all morning, him hauling bales, me sorting feed, and every now and then we'd exchange a word or two, just the kind of talk that doesn't mean much, but feels easy. Still, I couldn't help but notice how different he looked out here under the sun, sweat at his temples, muscles flexing with every lift. He didn't talk about my daughter, not once, and I didn't ask where she was or why he was really here, but I saw something in his eyes, something searching, and when he looked at me, it wasn't the way a man looks at his wife's mother. At noon we sat on the porch drinking lemonade I made from scratch. I hadn't done that in a while, and he smiled, told me it reminded him of his childhood, then asked if he could stay the night. Said he'd sleep in the barn if I preferred, but something in me said no, not out there, you'll catch a chill. I told him we had a guest room, and he thanked me with a softness in his voice I hadn't heard before. That night the wind picked up and the house creaked like it always did in storms. I couldn't sleep, my mind running wild with memories and questions and images of him out there under the moonlight. Hair tousled, eyes thoughtful, and then I heard it, the creak of floorboards, the sound of a door opening, not mine, not at first. But then a light knock, and there he stood at my door, not saying a word, not stepping in, just waiting, like he didn't know what would happen next, like he was leaving the choice to me, and for a moment I just stared, unsure of who I was in that second, and then I stepped aside. Morning came far too quickly, light filtering through the curtains like a quiet truth. I hadn't asked for the bed beside me, empty already, his scent still lingering like a question I hadn't answered. I found him out by the pasture, leaning against the fence, coffee in hand, eyes locked on the horizon, and when I approached he didn't speak, just offered me a sip from his mug, like it was something we always did, like it wasn't new or strange or dangerous. We didn't talk about the night, not then, not later. Instead we worked, moved through the day like it was any other, like nothing had shifted even though everything had. I started noticing the little things, the way he watched me when he thought I wasn't looking, how his hand lingered a second longer when he passed me tools, how he made excuses to stay longer, offered to fix more things around the farm as if he belonged. My daughter didn't call, not once, and neither did he call her, and I didn't know what to make of that. Maybe I didn't want to, maybe the silence was easier than the truth. One evening after dinner, we sat outside again, this time wrapped in a blanket he brought from inside, the stars bright enough to drown in, and he told me stories from when he was a boy. His voice softer now, filled with wonder, and when he looked at me his hand brushed against mine slowly, carefully asking for permission. I didn't give with words, but with the way I didn't pull away. Days passed, and everyone felt more like a dream. Something suspended in time, too beautiful, too fragile, and I knew it couldn't last, not forever, not like this, but I also knew I would never forget it, never forget the way he made me feel like a woman again, not just a mother or a host or a name in a family tree, but someone seen, someone wanted, someone who could still be touched. He left on a Wednesday just after breakfast. Said he had to go back, figure things out, and I didn't ask what that meant. I just walked him to his truck, watched him pause at the door, glance back like he might say something, like he might change everything again, but he didn't. He just smiled. A sad, quiet kind of smile, and drove off, leaving dust and silence in his wake. I stood there long after the sound of the engine faded, thinking about what we'd done, what it meant, if it meant anything at all, and the wind picked up around me, brushing against my skin like a whisper, reminding me that life doesn't always follow the rules we set, and sometimes the heart stumbles into something it never planned in. Sometimes even just once is enough to change everything forever.